just not working. Okay, now it's working. Hi everyone. I am on my way back. It's really hot in here. I'm on my way back from the studio after the 3 sessions. I promised to do a quick Q&A, and I'll do something later if this isn't sufficient, because I can't look at the screen the entire time because I'm driving. But I wanted to discuss our sessions today and answer any questions that anybody or of our viewers had in regards to what we were doing. We had, again, 2 newborn minis and 1 cake smash, or really it was a cake smash mini because it was really a rescheduled client from Monday who was sick that day and therefore had an off day. So I told him to come back today for at least the cake portion of his session, because mom and dad, and they're very good clients of mine, and obviously we treat everybody, especially our really good clients, with the utmost of respect and well. So anyway, I am driving, so I'll just be glancing down as I can. But our sessions today went well. We had 2 minis. I ended up having to start late. About how far away was your softbox and what degree? It was right next to the beanbag. I don't know, close enough that I could touch it with my back. And at 45 degrees approximately, somewhere between 45 to 90. I do feathered lighting, so I don't do anything direct because I like dramatic light. You're welcome. Hi. So yeah, I like it soft. I like it soft, I like it feathered, but I also like it dramatic. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm in New Jersey. What do I do? Why don't you read my my bio, and that'll give you a little bit of information. How about that? Okay. Today's sessions, back to what I was saying, 2 minis and a sort of mini cake smash, which again normally is a regular, but it was reduced time because it was sort of a continuation. You're welcome. Everything went well today. Minis. The only issue that I had, and I'm just telling to explain why we ran late. I have a unique talent of hiring assistants that are unfortunately unreliable and that basically don't stay for long periods of time, one reason or another. It's always actually it's been every different reason. It's never been the same. So long story short, I got notification at 5 o'clock yesterday that my current assistant decided to accept a job at another location, but didn't even give me the courtesy of 2 weeks. So I was left hanging with 4 sessions today and no assistant. So thank you. I appreciate that. I sort of saw a question about something about setup and blankets, and I'll get to that in a second. Just explaining why we ran late. So usually I have my assistant at the studio doing what I call a pre-setup for me, because I have 4 kids of my own, and I have to get my 3rd child onto a bus at 9:15. I can't leave, obviously, before I get her on the bus. So I get her on the bus, and then I get in the car, and I come down to the studio and do the session, and usually when I walk in, it's semi-set up, for me. This was not the case today, so when I got in, I had to do a mad rush and do a setup for a session that began at 10 o'clock, which was very chaotic and very difficult for me. So, I ended up running a little bit late because I started late. I wanted to go and talk to the client, and ask them if they had any questions or concerns, and by doing so, I started about 20 minutes late, and I'm not going to make that the client's fault, so therefore, my whole day just ran late, so I was about 20 to 30 minutes out. So we didn't start until about 10:20, 10:30, then I didn't finish until 11:30, and then I didn't start my next one until about 12, so everything got pushed out about a half an hour, which is why we ran a little bit over. I don't typically do that if I have everybody doing their job properly, inclusive of, you know, my assistants, which I don't have anymore. So I'm looking for a new assistant, and I can thank this lovely woman for giving me the notice that she did, which was basically a couple of hours notice that she wasn't going to be there. So what do I do in those situations? I have friends that have assisted me, and I have a full staff upstairs for my other business, which is my husband's dental practice, who have also assisted me on occasions like this, who are used to it, and I just basically pull one of them down, you know, to assist. And anybody can assist. I mean, a monkey can assist. I can train a monkey to do this. So honestly, it's not a difficult thing. You know, anyone can do it. My own mother has done it on occasion. You know, I just need a second set of hands and a second set of eyes, and in order to do my job properly. So long story short, that's what ran late this morning. And that's why we started late and why we're ending late. And anyway, had that not happened, everything would have gone smoothly according to plan like it normally does. Okay, so the question, I forgot, something to do with setup and blankets and so forth. I wasn't exactly sure what was asked, but from what I can tell you in a non-mentoring way, I use about, depending on the location, or depending on the things I'm photographing on, meaning the blankets I'm using, I could use anywhere from 1 to 3 blankets as like my heavy blankets on top of the beanbag in order to make things smooth on top of the beanbag. So there's like multiple blankets underneath, and then there are blankets on top, which I photographed the baby on with pee pads in between, essentially. Could you scope that sometime? I can't, unfortunately, unless I do mentoring. That's something that I do in my mentorships to show how I set up, you know, do all the pre-setup and all the beanbag, and, you know, how I use what I use and so forth. That's the stuff that's done in the mentoring sessions. So out of fairness, you know, I can't. But, you know, again, I can try to answer any questions as best as I can regarding that. So the purpose of blankets on a beanbag, at least for me, is to make it smooth so that we don't have lumps and bumps. So if I'm using things to help position baby, you're not going to see lumps and bumps and crinkles and stuff like that. Do I have a website? Yes, redheadphotography.net. It also should be in my profile, I believe. I know I get asked this a lot, but people join in and out, so you know, I assume that not everybody is here at the beginning of the broadcast, end of the broadcast, so forth. What was I going to say? A Facebook page I have a Twitter page, I have 500px, I have sort of semi-Pinterest thing set up, although the assistant never finished it, so it's like half done, and I don't have time to do it. So it's called One Person with 8 Arms. That's what I feel like sometimes. Anyway, the sessions today. So first session was a photographer, mom and dad team, local here actually, who are beyond wonderful. They're such wonderful people. I'm looking forward to getting to know them better. They specialize in other areas such as weddings and events. And so, you know, hopefully I'll be able to refer business to them, and likewise, and vice versa. Their baby came in first, and you know, it's funny, I had 2 babies back to back with 2 totally different personalities. First one, they're both girls. They both had full cheeks. They were both around the same weight, but the first one was a little bit more gassy and a little bit more tense than the second one. And the second one was very, very loose and just sort of agile. You know, and you gotta be able to work with both. Okay, that is really wrong. Goodbye. I can't believe people. I'm sorry, you know, people have a lot of nerve. Makes me think I shouldn't be doing these broadcasts when I see comments like that. Okay? People have some decency. There's no reason to use profanity. There's no reason to say things like that, and I'm not even going to repeat it. I just block and ban. I don't need to deal with that. I'm sorry. So I'm welcome to help people and to talk about what we do and how we do it, and to share my passion with everybody. But I'm not about to deal with, part of my language, but assholes and people with no dignity and no respect. So they just get banned and deleted. Okay? Am I ready? I don't know what that means, but if you're going to be obnoxious, it's going to be deleted. So, what camera do I use? I use a Hasselblad medium format digital back. It's a D5 or 5D50C, H5D-50C. It's the 50 megapixel medium format camera. I have a Nikon D5 as a backup camera. Although, quite honestly, it's still sitting in the box and I haven't even opened it yet. I haven't had a need. I also have a D4S that I used to use as well before I switched to medium format. I'm going to be selling that as well. Actually, it's up for sale. I used to have actually 2 D4Ss. I sold one of them. I need to sell the other one. I really just need the Hasselblad and a backup, which is the D5. I also have a D750, which is exclusively for underwater photography. When I do underwater maternity sessions, I have a housing, an Icolite housing that I use over the D750 for the underwater maternity sessions. So that camera is exclusively and only for that. Everything else, you know, I mean, it's not even taken out of the casing. I keep it in there, you know what I mean? It's not even moved from that location. So it's only for that purpose. And the lens is attached to it as well. Questions that I can catch at a red light when I get to one. Details, do I use macro? I don't. I can, but there's nothing wrong with macro. Actually, I do love them. I just don't usually have time to do them. I'm too concentrating on posing and getting through, you know, my promised poses that I give to each of my parents. And the families, especially minis. Minis are really time sensitive. So, you know, I mean, the irony is, in all of my minis so far, I tell everybody I don't want to have to end up feeding your baby, and I guess what? I've had to feed almost every one of them at some point. But yet still, somehow, I'm able to get through the 3 poses and variety of those 3 poses in, you know, an hour. That's not easy to do, especially when it's Froggy as one of them. Froggy is not, you know, I mean, it's not a difficult pose. What kind of constant light do I use? I use a Spider Light TD6 or TR6. It's continuous lighting. It's, I think, fluorescent bulbs, which I have a love-hate relationship with. I have to use custom white balance, because if I don't, it leaves a green cast on my pictures. So I have to custom white balance everything in order for it to be effective. The nice thing about strobe lighting is that it's pretty much daylight, so you don't get any color casts. But when you're using the continuous, at least I've found that, you know, at certain temperatures and certain, you know, darkness or you know, light areas, you get green color casts on pictures, and I can't stand it. It drives me crazy. My clients probably wouldn't see it, but I do. And in order to undo that, anyone that knows anything about color theory, in order to undo green, you have to add magenta. It's the opposite on the color wheel. So if you can imagine me having to take an entire album of babies and add magenta tones and then have to subtract it from the baby's skin, that takes a long time, and I do not want to have to spend that much time editing. So that's why I do custom white balance, so I can get it straight out of the camera. So all I have to do is my regular editing 1, 2, 3, get it done, you know, and then have my client, you know, my pictures ready for my clients. Time saver. Everything's about time. Time is money. Have I used LED? I have not. I think the bulbs are fluorescent. LED, I'm also told, has a green cast to it, so I don't know if it would be in my advantage to even go that route. If I thought it was going to help, I would switch to LED light, but I've been told by like B&H and people that it also has a green cast problem, so You know, if it's not going to help me, there's no use really me spending money on it. I did for a short period of time use strobe last year when I was doing babies, and while it does do great in terms of color, I had a couple of situations of mishaps, strobe not firing and modeling lights shutting off randomly in the middle of a session while I'm with a newborn, and just technology mishaps one after another. And let me tell you, if I haven't been in this field for 20 years, I would have been shitting my pants because I had to find ways to get around all that, okay? And, you know, it wasn't easy, and it stressed me out, and I don't like to be stressed out during sessions. So as a result, you know, I try to use things that I can depend on. So continuous light never fails. It's just on. It gives me a green cast if I don't white balance it properly, but otherwise it's on. So what does TG mean? I do understand. Yes, French. I only speak it a little bit, so I don't understand everything, unfortunately. Plus I'm driving, so I'm not staring at the screen 100%. Do I something? I can't read base? I'm sorry. I'm not sure what that was. I apologize. Je parle français un petit peu. So, not tremendous amount. It's been years. What's my best advice for keeping baby asleep? Making sure that they're full. Having white noise. Holding them down so that they're secure and they feel secure, so that they don't feel like their startling reflexes are jumping all over the place. Those are three main components, you know, to keeping babies asleep and keeping them secure. They don't want to feel like they're, you know, flailing like this with their arms. They don't want to feel that, you know. Holding them down, feeding them, making sure that they're completely full. My baby today, the last one, woke up for a short period of time. Just because she was hungry, she started rooting, and as soon as I fed her, she fell right back asleep. The only, you know, reason she then woke up again after that was when I brought her into the room where mom was staying, and she smelled mom, and boom, eyes went open. Happens every single time. So that's the other thing, separation from parents. If you want your baby to be in a deep sleep and you want your baby to stay in a deep sleep, keeping the separation from parents is crucial. So I don't know how. I know I stress it all the time. Some people are comfortable with it, some people aren't. That's up to you. But that's the way I do everything. And it works for me. So what can I tell you? Okay, I've stopped for a moment so I can answer some questions quickly before I turn everything off. Any other questions? Now I'm actually looking at the screen before I sign off for the afternoon. Anything else from anyone? So both of our mini sessions, both babies did froggy, prone, and forward facing. The difference is our first baby did froggy, and then their prone was unclothed because they were very sensitive and kind of cranky. And their forward facing, you know, but they all did it beautifully. The second one I did prone both with clothes and without because I was able to. Something about 3 poses. What does that say? The most I do is 3? No, just in a mini. Newborn mini session is only 3 poses because it's 1 hour. So regular session, either a 3-hour session, or a 3-hour session is a minimum of 7 poses, and a 4-hour session is, you know, 7 poses plus also mom, baby, dad, baby, sibling shots if they are, first siblings, any of that gets added on. So, you know, I always do a minimum of 7. 7 is the minimum for any regular newborn session, and I always get at least 7. Usually it's more than that. It's more like 10 or 9, even during a 3-hour period. It's not up to me. It's really baby. If, you know, the baby cooperates, I can move through, you know, 5 poses in a half an hour, honestly. It has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the baby and, you know, how their temperament is, you know. As long as they're sleeping, I can do my job. So, any other questions for me today?